Hello. Yes, this is a filler video, but I'm going to be talking about my favorite bass players. Quick disclaimer, I know that there's a lot of other cool, great bass players out there. It's hard to pick a specific one, and there's a lot of other bass players out there that I might not mention. So if you're a bass player, and of course I don't mention the bass players that you love, like Flea or Les Claypool, who are good, they're not really my favorite bass players. I'm going to start off with number 10. And there's no specific order, however, the number one, the last one I'm going to talk about, I think is the best bass player in the world. I'm going to start off with number 1, Geddy Lee. And Geddy Lee I'm putting first on the list, or I should say probably last as one of my favorite bass players, is because I'm going to be completely honest. I recently discovered him. I bought some of those progressive rock album collections, and it got me thinking, oh yeah, I'll check out some Rush. So I checked out one video clip. It was actually a music video. It was just like an audio clip, but it was one of the first Rush records from like 74 or something. Maybe it was the second Rush record from 75. I'm not sure, but I heard Geddy Lee's bass playing, and I was just like, hey, holy shit, that's some amazing stuff. So just like with Jimi Hendrix, I didn't get into him years later. I was really never into Jimi Hendrix when I was younger. So Geddy Lee and Rush. I've become a big, huge Rush fan. Not really. I don't really love Rush, but Geddy Lee is an awesome bass player. Number 2, Rudy Sarso. Rudy Sarso was great. I think he did a lot of cool stuff. Unfortunately, he wasn't on the Whitesnake album. Unfortunately, he wasn't on the Ozzy albums. But he was on the Quiet Riot albums. And he's been in, of course, a bunch of bands. I'm going to put the list right here. I have a blank white wall here today, so I'm going to put the list of all the bands that Rudy Sarso has been in. Be too many to name. Ones I can think off the top of my head are Quiet Riot, Whitesnake, Ozzy's band, and of course he's done all kinds of other like side projects and everything too. David Ellefson. I think David Ellefson's a really cool bass player. I like the fact that how within the songs of the band, there's not too many, within the thrash genre, the metal genre, there's a lot of bass players. Not all of them. I know there's Cliff Burton and stuff like that. But there's a lot of them that just kind of play the bass and they're in the background and they're not the star of the show. And their bass playing isn't that, you know, outward. So I think that's cool that they take some of the songs and they, you know, do like a cool bass line, whether it's an intro, like this one. Like for Peace Sells and Dawn Patrol. So Peace Sells and Dawn Patrol, 2 other songs that specifically stand out. There's a couple more, I forgot them. Number 4, Gene Simmons. Now I know a lot of people don't think Gene Simmons is a great bass player, but I think Gene Simmons, you know, does what's needed for the bass. He has a great bass sound, and in some of the songs, if you listen really good, you can hear the bass. I mean, is he an insane bass player? No, definitely not. But he does what fits the music, and he's got some cool bass lines. You just got to listen for him. And yeah, you know, just like with a Michael Anthony bass solo, the Gene Simmons bass solo is not really that great or exciting. But Gene Simmons, I think, is great. Number 5, Bob Daisley. Of course, Bob Daisley played on the Ozzy albums, the first several of them. And he was a great songwriter, too. And I just like Bob Daisley. I think that, you know, he's underrated also. Number 6, Robert Trujillo. Okay, so Robert Trujillo, I don't want to say I've known for a while. I've known about for a while because, of course, he was in Suicidal Tendencies. And if I can find the clip, I'll put the clip in there. Basically, in 1989, Steve Muir, or no, freaking Mike Muir. Mike Muir introduces Robert, and he goes, "This is our new bass player. He jams. Now you know him." And that was it. It was just a quick little intro. So it wasn't until Lights Camera Revolution and the song Send Me Your Money, he does this. Now give me some bass. So I thought that was really cool. They got a better bass player. Just like with some of those other bands. Sometimes when they get a different musician, they want to get a better musician. Okay, so I thought that was really cool. And of course, I like this stuff. Well, I like his bass playing Infectious Grooves, but I wasn't really huge on Infectious Grooves. And of course, he got the gig with Metallica, which was great for him. He's just always been one of my favorite bass players. I mean, even for just that one little snippet, one little piece that he played in Send Me Your Money, and of course the other stuff that he's done, of course, too, with it, like I said, Infectious Grooves and all that. It's just a really cool bass player. Boltz, I forgot. I can't really pronounce this guy's last name. It's a German name, Francis of the Scorpions. Now, of course, just like with any of the 80s bands, he didn't really do any popping, slapping, and tapping and all that other stuff. Incredible bass lines, but you hear like Longing for Fire, and the song's off in trance. There's some like really cool bass lines in there. And of course there's one I'm missing I can't think of now. I'm going to throw a little bit of clip of that in. From the worst, but like I said, these are in no specific order. But number 8 is Steve Harris. Steve Harris, of course, you all know who the hell that is. I think his bass lines are really cool. I think it's great that in Iron Maiden's music you can hear the bass, and you can hear Harris's lines and everything, from either the Clairvoyant to the Rhyme of the Ancient Matter to Power Slave, 2 Minutes to Midnight. His bass line within Wasted Years, just epic, cool, good tone. It's on its own and it fits well within the music. That's why I think Steve Harris is great. And of course, one of the things he plays with his fingers. These players who play with their fingers are just better than the guys who use a pick. The guys who use a pick are just fiddle guitarists that switch the bass. So anyway, Steve Harris, incredible, awesome bass player. 9 is Timmy Hansen from King Diamond. Another later discovery. It wasn't until, several years after I didn't pay attention to it. And his bass playing on Abigail is great, especially the song with the Family Ghost. You listen to that song really well and you'll hear some really cool bass lines in there. He was awesome. Rock metal albums that you can't even really hear the bass at all. And it doesn't mean it's a terrible album. There's some really great albums that are great, have great songs on them, but you just can't really hear the bass, like this one. Okay, so lastly, at number 10, and this is my favorite bass player, and I think this guy's the best bass player in the world. I know, I'm going to get either hate comments on it or comments, oh, you don't know anything about freaking bass. A lot of people just don't like this guy for some reason. Maybe it's because the bands that he's playing and he's too glammy or whatnot. This guy's awesome. He's one of the best bass players in the world. Okay, if he's not the best bass player in the world, he's definitely one of the best bass players in the world. Billy Sheehan. I think the stuff that Billy Sheehan does, his technique, his speed, I mean, holy shit, I mean, he does it all. He doesn't do too much slap bassing. He does more of just the tapping and, of course, the cool fretwork that he does. He does his fast triplets, he does his insane quadruplets even. I mean, his... The whole Billy Sheehan situation, like I said, a lot of people dislike him because he's too good. Well, what's too good? Always showing off. Well, but that you like Flea and Les Claypool, these alternative bass players. So people like Les Claypool and Flea, who are good bass players, but they're technical. They're kind of showing off too with their bass playing skills, but it's okay for them to do that. They like them because they're in some cool bands or something. It just really doesn't make any sense. Even though, of course, granted, yeah, I'm not the hugest Mr. Big fan. I don't think Mr. Big is that incredible or great. But the David Roth stuff, and of course, all of Billy Sheehan's bass solo stuff, He's just an incredible bass player. And if you haven't checked out, and if you're one of those Billy Sheehan deniers and doubters and all that stuff, check out the NV something, some numbers after it. I'll put a little clip up here. Check out the full version of that on YouTube. There's some on there. It's just, I heard that back in 1992, and I was just like, holy shit, this is this amazing bass playing, and I just think he's awesome. Agree, there's a lot of people out there, well, yeah, he's good, but he's not the best. Or, yeah, he's really good, but I just really don't like him. Well, you don't like him, whatever. That's fine. This is my top 10. This is my list of favorite bass players, not in any specific order. Not saying that all these are the best. I know I missed out on a lot of the cool jazz bass players and all that other stuff. Look, I'm no bass enthusiast either, but I like the sound of the bass, and these bass players were my favorite ones. So what say you? What do you like for bass players? Who's your favorite bass player? List it down below. And anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching, and see you.